What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Casually Die Hard. I'm Damien.
And I'm Ashley.
Thanks for joining us again this week. This week we have our executive producer, Bonsai. He is joining us for the episode today, so that way our other dog doesn't try to eat him.
Yes. In a friendly way.
In a friendly way. They love each other. He just doesn't like her playing with him sometimes, and it's not always the most gratifying. I think he wants to come over with me.
Yep, there we go.
Here we go. So anyway, today we are going to be discussing a documentary that we watched because it's insane. We wanted to kind of get around to watching a documentary and discussing one and everything, and this was...
What a wild ride.
A wild ride. It was called Why Did You Kill Me? It's on Netflix. It came out 2022, I believe.
2022 or 2021.
Yeah, something along those lines. Within the last couple of years, it came out. And it's an insane ride. We're going to take you on it. We're going to kind of review it, give our thoughts, our takes on it, and everything like that. Really quick though, like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things. Helps us grow as a channel. Share it with your friends. Please, because Jesus Christ, it's going to be a wild ride. I had to mute our TV so that way if any notifications came in, it didn't do the noise. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley. She did all of the note taking for this.
I am the note taker.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So it's February 2006. We open up with Belinda, who is the mother of Crystal
Theobald.
Crystal Theobald. Yes,
Crystal
that's
Theobald.
Right. And she is kind of describing what happened the night that this crime occurred.
Yeah.
So what she describes, and they do it in a really cool way, where there's an entire recreation of
the street that this occurred on.
Like the neighborhood, basically. Yeah. They have the exact miniature cars. They have people. I really like the way that they did it, so you can really see the visual.
I really like that too. There's a lot of documentaries that they do the diagrams and stuff like that, but you never truly see how things are spaced out and stuff. This really gave a good indication of how things were spaced, how things actually transpired in the moment. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. So she is using that scene to sort of show what happened from her perspective. So she describes that she is driving her car, and then three people are in the car behind her.
Behind her. She's in front of them, and the three people in the car are Crystal Theobald.
Yep, her daughter.
Her daughter's husband, I believe, Juan.
Yep.
And then...
her son, Justin.
Her son... Is it Justin?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're in the cars, and then there is a white Ford Expedition that is in the intersection coming the other way. So they're coming through this way.
It's a T.
Yes.
It's a T.
And then they're coming sort of this way.
The cars are coming this way to the T, and they're turning left, and then the Ford Expedition is coming this way into the T, kind of blocking them off.
And there's somebody at the intersection.
On the corner.
Yep. And they shoot into the car that Crystal is in and end up killing her. So that is what we get first. It's a shocking crime. Nobody has any motive. Nobody knows what's going on. They drive away. They pull into a
convenience store parking lot.
A grocery store parking lot.
Yeah, grocery store, sorry.
And you can see it. They have the surveillance footage at the grocery store of Justin getting out of the car, getting his sister Crystal out of the car, and just sort of holding her. And she, at that point, I don't think has passed away yet. They take her to the hospital where she later passes away.
Yeah, and the whole thing happens right in front of the grocery. They pull up pretty much right to the doors of the grocery store.
Yeah, well, they drove 4 minutes first.
Well, right. Then, I'm saying when they get to that grocery store, they're right in front of the grocery store.
You can see everything. So yeah, that whole thing happens, and it's a mystery at this point why it happened.
Yep.
Nobody knows who's involved. Nobody knows why. And then they start interviewing Jamie, who is Crystal's cousin. And she really just recounts, like, seeing her grandma crying that night And she goes on to tell the documentary like how good of a person Crystal was.
And she's like 9 years or 9 years younger than Crystal, I think, or
Yes.
something like
Yep.
that. She was like 14 when this happened.
Yeah, so she really looks up to her. Crystal was married, like you said. And she is just described as this like bright light, like this great person. Everybody loves her. She, her cousin Jamie is like, she is the one who taught me that anything's possible. You can do
Yeah.
anything. And you can tell through the whole documentary that she really, really loves her.
Yes. Yeah, that is the one constant
Yeah.
for Jamie is like this love that she has for her cousin.
Yep.
It's really, really strong, and the lengths that they go to.
Yeah, and she also talks about how at that point MySpace was a big thing. It
Yeah.
was everywhere. Everybody was on MySpace in 2006.
Yeah, it was the precursor to Facebook for the olds that don't know,
And the youngs
and the
who don't
youngs
know.
that don't know. As millennials, we all had MySpace.
Oh my god, I was so active on MySpace.
Amateur coding.
Oh yeah,
huge.
Everybody used HTML to
Yes.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
great.
it was crazy. And
Yeah, great times.
MySpace, I remember, I was the tail end of MySpace. My mom really didn't like me having one.
My parents didn't either, but I didn't care.
Yeah, no, my mom caught me on one, and then I made one later, like a year
Gotcha.
or so later, once I
Okay.
got, like, I was like 13, 14, I think.
Okay.
I was finally able to have one, and then that was only for about 2 years, I think, I had
Okay.
a MySpace.
Yeah, no, I was big into MySpace. I had like the 20,000 friends, and
Yeah.
it was crazy. But yes,
What was it called to be like super famous on MySpace?
MySpace famous.
Was it just
Yeah, that was it. It was
I thought there was
MySpace
something
famous.
else. I thought it was like a MySpace whore or something like that, or
I mean, no, like it was just MySpace famous.
was it? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was something like kind of derogatory. I was like, oh,
there was a
okay.
lot of derogatory stuff with MySpace. For
MySpace
sure.
was a wild.
Like there was like ad trains, like friend trains that you would like go and
no,
like
I did
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So it was a whole
Social media, baby.
Yeah.
The precursor to social media, really.
I mean, it was social media.
It was social media, but like the precursor to like the explosion.
Today's. Yeah.
The explosion of social media.
Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, Tom, everybody's number one friend.
Yeah. I mean, he got his bag and he got out.
Good
you
for
know?
him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But yeah, so she went on MySpace and she really blogged about her feelings
Yep.
through all of this. And then we go over to Detective Rick Wheeler, who is the detective who got this case. It was his second case ever.
As a homicide detective.
Yes.
Yeah.
So his first one went unsolved, is still unsolved today.
Yep.
So he got this case and he was like, I don't care what it takes. I'm solving this case. I'm not going to let another one go.
This guy is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
no, he's great.
he really took this case and like embraced
Yes.
it.
And I feel like there's a lot of times where you hear about cases like this where the detectives
Don't
kind of
care.
suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is really shoddy, terrible police work. But not Rick.
No.
I like Rick.
Rick covered all of his bases, and
He
he
sure
really
did.
let this one sit with him.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. So he was talking about how they were canvassing the neighborhood after this happened. They were talking to Crystal's family. So her mom's name is Belinda. And she did not want to talk to the police.
Not just her brothers too.
Yeah, the whole family.
Crystal's brothers did not want
Yeah.
to talk to police either, and we know why later.
Yes.
But it's not revealed immediately.
So they're not cooperating really with the police at all.
At first, her mom did like that night.
Later, yeah,
That night, she kind of like was like, okay, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
She opened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of information that was held back, which I feel like could have solved this a lot sooner.
It could have.
That's one of my biggest issues with this is like the family itself. Like, I understand not trusting the police.
Yeah.
I get that.
But she also said that they were kind of rough with her sons, and they were
Yeah.
kind of like, well, you know what happened, like, you
Tell
better
us
tell
what
us or we're
happened.
gonna have you arrested.
Yeah.
And that is not how you want to treat victims, because
No.
at this point, they're victims.
Yeah.
Like, they just watched their sister die.
Well,
basically.
and I think Detective Wheeler was the one that like came in and been like, we're not going to do that. We just want to figure out what's happening. I
Yeah.
think it was like the initial PD
Right.
that were handling them a bit roughly.
Yeah, so they didn't want to talk to them, and
No.
I don't blame them in that regard, I guess.
No, not really.
But so then they start talking about this gang that's been active in the area, 5150.
Which actually is a police code.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
5150 is a crazy person, I think. It's like the term that they use for like somebody that's kind of going off the wall. I'm going to look that up.
interesting. Yeah, you look that up.
Before I fuck myself over there.
So they're also talking about how there are other gangs in this area as well. It's sort of, this intersection is kind of an overlap between some like gang territory.
So 5150 is for a involuntary 72-hour psychiatric hold.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
It's where police can intervene and involuntarily check somebody in
I
for
wonder,
72 hours.
I wonder if that is just like a coincidence or if there's like something. with
Yeah,
that. Because that doesn't sound very gangy to me.
No, it doesn't. I think there's something else that's involved there.
Yeah, probably. So then they talk to Mario, who is a former 5150 member.
Yes.
So I really thought that the documentary got a lot of things done really well. So they're talking to the family. They're talking to former members of this gang. They're
Yep.
talking to the police. They're talking to everybody who could have knowledge. Later, they talk to family members of gang members. And I think it's really interesting to see all of these perspectives.
It seemed kind of impartial. Like, it seemed like
Yes.
very impartial.
Yeah, it's like they just kind of wanted the information.
Yep.
They didn't want just like, here's one side of the story. They wanted everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, somebody got murdered.
So it's kind of one-sided, but
Yeah.
also at the same time, like, they
You still
heard...
hear the entire story.
Yeah, you hear everything.
He said that the gang is a way for him and his family members to sort of back each other up and make sure that everybody was okay.
Yeah, it didn't really start out as like a gang. It started out as like just a
No, it started out as a gang.
no, but not really. Like, it wasn't like a, oh, hey, we're gonna go out there and like fuck each other up. And,
No, I
like,
think it did.
No, he was saying like it didn't start out the way that it ended up. He was
mean,
like,
what does, though?
He's like, it
You know?
started out as a way for us to be able to like protect each other because like we were getting harassed in school and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like,
that's true, I guess.
he did kind of say like it was not my intention for it to be what it is.
Yeah,
because
and-
he was like one of the founding members. It seemed like.
Yeah, and he mentioned that they were all, at the time, very young.
Yeah.
He said under 18.
Yeah, everybody was. Nobody was over the age of 18.
Yeah. So Belinda, Crystal's mom, identified to the police that the shooter, she saw him.
Yeah.
And she said that he was really young. So that sort of fits.
The 5150s.
Exactly.
And like a really accurate depiction too. Like, she sat down with a sketch artist and
Yeah.
like really accurate depiction
Yep.
of like what he looked like.
Yeah. And then the detective started going through and showing her pictures from
Yearbooks and stuff.
yearbooks, and she identified like this is the guy. And then they took him in. She identified him in a lineup. She was 100% like this is him.
And this is where it gets hard because
Yes.
so from what I understand, she might be white, I think.
Yeah,
I think she's white.
I think so.
And when it gets down into white and like cross-racial
It's always
identification,
difficult.
it's always so bad.
Yeah, and it's not just like white people identifying
No,
people of color.
well,
It's people of color identifying
white people too,
or other people of color.
Or other people of color,
Like,
yeah.
anytime it gets to cross-racial identification
Mm-hmm.
in any form, a lot of times it's not accurate.
Yeah, which to be fair, the person that they found looks identical to this picture,
He does look identical to the picture, but
so does the eventual guy.
Yeah.
Like, there are two people that look very similar.
right. So they bring the identified child into
Mm-hmm.
questioning. And he is like, I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Had a airtight alibi.
Yes. And he sounded incredibly young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would guess that this kid was maybe 12 or 13.
I don't think he was that young. I think he was like
sounded it.
15. I think he was
Maybe.
like
It's
15,
possible.
16. Because, like, I think that he was definitely like he was terrified.
He was, yeah.
He
was
broke down sobbing in the interview room, everything. Like they really fucked up this first thing.
Yeah. And his alibi was verified, so he really was not there.
Yeah, by the people there, and I think they said they asked neighbors or something like that. Like they cross-referenced with just people that weren't there.
Right.
And the other thing too is like they went on after this to say like, oh, now Belinda's credibility is kind of shot if it goes to trial because she already misidentified one person.
Exactly. So it's like, how does she know what she's talking about? She was so sure that it was this boy. So it makes it really difficult.
Cross-racial identification is so hard.
It is.
It's so hard.
It is. But sometimes like that's what you have to go on, and it sucks. But then Nick, one of Crystal's brothers who was not there that night.
I think he's the youngest.
I think so. He told Jamie, the cousin, that 5150 guys were on MySpace and that they were in Crystal's top 8. So, for those of you who don't know, MySpace had this whole, like, friend ranking system, basically, where it's you had your top 8, and that was it.
And they were displayed prominently on your
page. So everybody knew when you were in a fight with them because you
take them out of your
top 8, or you drop them down, which was almost more insulting.
Yeah, it was almost like if you're their number 1, you drop them down to number 6.
Exactly.
Those are fighting words.
Those
were
like,
fighting words.
Okay, what did I do?
Yeah. And I think at one point it was like a top 16 you could have.
You could have up to a top 16. You could have a top 1, a top 5, a top 8. Or a top 16. I think that's how it went.
I always stuck with the 8.
I always also stuck with the 8. And it was my best friend and then a shit ton of bands.
I don't remember who my top 8 was.
Yeah. Yeah, nope. It was my best friend as number 1, always. And then a shit ton of bands. And that was it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It just, it got rid of the drama. It got rid of the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knew my best friend was my best friend, so.
MySpace was built different.
It was. And as much as I was like, oh, I miss MySpace, I wouldn't want that back.
Oh, God,
If I'm not in somebody's top 8, why don't you like me? What did I do?
What did you do wrong?
What did I do? So then Jamie and Belinda ended up coming up with this plan where Jamie would create basically a catfish profile, which was big at MySpace.
Yeah.
Like, it was, catfish profiles were huge.
Huge.
But so she found this picture online. She created a catfish profile, named it Rebecca, and her goal was to go on, add all these 5150 guys, and just get information from them. She wanted to know what kind of car they drove because they're looking for a white Ford Expedition.
Yeah, that is the one constant of this all.
Yes.
No matter what is the white Ford Expedition.
Yeah. So at that intersection, that was the car. It was the white Ford Expedition. So she's trying to get this information. It's not really working. She speculates that she's sort of asking too many questions and prying a little bit too much.
Yep. And I think she was. Like, the way it was kind of portrayed, she seemed like she was asking too quickly.
Right. And then we find out that there's 2 white Ford Expeditions.
Yes.
So Belinda really was not forthcoming right away, like we said. And she did not mention information about one of her other sons, Robbie, who is also not in the car at the time.
He's also driving a white Ford Expedition.
Yes, he was driving a white Ford Expedition, and he was seen, his white Ford Expedition was seen being chased by another white Ford Expedition in the area.
8 minutes before the murder.
Yeah.
Like, it's right before the murder.
It's like right then.
Yeah.
So he says that he was parked across the street from his mother's house, so his mother knew he was there. Mm-hmm. And he was talking to a friend who was outside of the car.
Yep.
So his friend is saying that they got shot at, I think. Was that him?
No.
Oh, no. So he was just talking to him.
He was just talking to him.
And they see this other Ford Expedition, and they're
Yep.
very wary of it. Like, he said that his girlfriend was in the car with him, and she was kind of scared of this other car because of...
Yeah. And his buddy started backpedaling to the door of his house.
Yeah, so they were both really nervous.
Yep.
And then Robbie decided to speed towards the other white Ford Expedition to sort of get away from them.
This is before that. They're getting lapped, and then the Ford Expedition comes at them almost.
No, that was them. They did.
No, I know. I'm saying... So, as this is all happening, Ford Expedition
it's like
comes
making
towards
its rounds.
Yeah, and it's making its rounds, and then it comes up again, and it's kind of angled towards them, is kind of how it's talked about.
Yeah, and they
so
get really scared, so he guns it.
Yeah, he high beams it and guns past them, which leads this other expedition to peel out and chase them.
Yes, so now there's like this whole chase, and it's 5 minutes before the shooting.
Yes.
So we also found out that Crystal's family had issues with the law. A lot of them did.
A lot of drug and gun issues.
Yes.
It seems
So
like.
Belinda, her mother, got in trouble for cooking and selling meth and doing meth. The brothers had gotten in trouble with the law previously as well.
Yep.
But I mean, that doesn't always mean anything. You know what I mean?
No, but it also makes people a little bit more wary of the police, because if they know that, they're not taking you as seriously, which is a problem. Like, that's something that should be addressed wholeheartedly. It's like, my past mistakes don't make me who I am now.
Right. But the Detective Wheeler also states that actually this is good information, because it means that it opens up more possibilities of why this happened, who it could be, because you never know. Like, maybe somebody feel like you stiffed them in a deal. Maybe like somebody's looking for you for something. Somebody wants to punish you for something. You never know. So it would be good to have this information immediately.
Yep.
But they're talking to Christy, Belinda's friend, and she's like, well, they never did drugs in front of the kids. Like, that was never a thing. They never saw it. But then Crystal's best friend, Amber, is also on the documentary saying, like, it was very, very obvious that this is what was happening.
And it's hard to hide drug use.
Oh my God. Especially something like meth. Like, you know.
Yeah. And it is known that, like, Crystal then said, like, all I want is for my mom to be clean.
Exactly. And her mom acknowledges that that's all she wanted. So she did know what was going on. So then Belinda comes up with the idea, because the Rebecca profile isn't yielding many results.
Yep.
So she is like, why don't we make Crystal a MySpace page?
Using Crystal's picture.
Yes. They name her Angel. And she ended up getting tons of messages from these 5150 guys. It's still Jamie behind the profile. So she describes that she's kind of bouncing back and forth between Rebecca and Angel. And she kind of gives them different personalities. So Angel is somebody who is a little bit more sorry, not Angel. Rebecca's a little bit more childish, a little
partier.
bit more, a little bit more prying. And then this Angel profile, she said she really modeled it after Crystal. So she is very sweet, very loving. She says in the profile she doesn't like do drugs or drink or party or anything like that. And the goal was really to get people to fall in love with this profile, so she could get information.
Neve would have had a field day.
He really would. So they found this one profile from somebody named William Sotelo.
Sotelo, yep.
Yes, William Sotelo.
Or is it Sortello? Is it
No.
Is it Sotelo?
Yes.
I thought there might have been an R in there.
No,
Continue.
but he, in his profile, confirmed that he's with 5150, and
it's all over his profile.
Everywhere.
Like, he has pictures of him repping the signs. It's in his name.
Yeah. And even one of the little, like... Caption. That's the word I'm looking for. Captions under his picture says he's down to kill.
Yep.
So they're like, pretty fucking good. Like this, yes, I think this is a guy that we should be looking for.
Yeah, they turn it over to the detective, and the detective's like,
Eventually, not yet.
They're like, we wish you would have told us about this.
Yes. So also his little gang nickname is Joker. So
No, Jokes.
Jokes. Oh,
Jokes.
Jokes, not Joker.
Jokes.
Sorry, Jokes. So April 2006. This is 2 months later. They tell William in this angel profile. They're like, "Oh, my mom's in jail for cooking meth. Like, I really miss her." They really were trying to get him to come out of his shell and talk about drug use too.
Yep.
And he did not do that. He was just being supportive of her. And they're like, he's getting sweeter. He's falling in love with his profile.
Yep.
And like Jamie's like, yeah, that's what I wanted. And she ends up getting him to tell her what kind of car he drives because he really wants her to go to this party.
Yeah, and he's
she's
saying
like,
that he'll pick her up. And
exactly.
stuff.
And she's like, oh, like I can't, I don't know what to do. And at this point, Jamie's freaking the fuck out because she's like, I don't know how to get out of this.
Yep.
Because she does eventually say like, oh yeah, I'll come to this party.
Because Belinda tells her to say that.
Mm-hmm. And so Jamie's like, okay, I'll come. And then an hour before she's supposed to be there, she messages him and she's like, oh, sorry, I can't make it, can't find a ride. And then he's like, oh, I could pick you up. And she's like, oh, I don't think so. But if you were to pick me up, what kind of car should I look for? A white Ford Expedition.
Yep. And this is when they turn it over to the police.
Yes.
I think it's that night.
I think so. And he's like, what the fuck?
Like, good job, but also clue me the fuck in,
right.
guys.
But he did. He was like, this is a great setup.
Yeah. Yeah, he gave them their flowers. He's like, listen, y'all did great.
So
we'll take it from here.
Right. So he does bring in William Sotelo.
AKA Jokes.
Yes. And he showed him, like, they showed him in the interrogation room. The detective is telling him that his car was identified in connection with this crime. And he is denying it. And the detective is basically using the tactic of, we know you were there. Mm-hmm. We just need to know what happened.
Yep.
So he also put it out there that he knew his, like, little nickname.
Yeah.
So, and he was like, oh, Jokes, what are you talking about? And it's like, come on.
Come on, homie.
Like, you're
it's
not
all over
that
your
secretive.
MySpace.
Right.
Like, it's not that hard to figure out that this is you.
Yeah, but it is true at this point. People didn't know the power of the internet.
No.
Like, at this point, you thought that when something was deleted, it was gone forever.
But he didn't even delete his
I know.
stuff.
But, like, that's sort of what I'm saying is, like, people didn't understand the internet. Mm-hmm. We thought that, like, oh, nobody's going to know. Like, who's looking for it?
Right.
How can you find it? Like, that's impossible. No. Once it's there, it's everywhere.
And once it's there, it's everywhere.
It's here, it's there, it's everywhere.
Yep.
MySpace can't.
That's a Ted Lasso reference.
Yes. So then he's like, all right, okay, I was there, but I wasn't involved. Mm-hmm. He said that they were just cruising in MD territory, which is another gang.
Yeah, we don't know what MD stands for.
No, they never say it.
No.
He said that there was 7 people in the car.
Sorry.
Okay. He said there were 7 people in the car. And then he talks about how this other expedition almost hit their car.
Yep.
And then he says that the other expedition started shooting at their car.
Yeah.
So then he's like, then that's when Julio Heredia, also named Lil Huero, got out and bullets were flying everywhere. And that's when he thinks that he shot at the other car.
But he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He ducked down. He didn't see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so according to him, this other expedition starts shooting at them. And Lil Huero just jumps out of the car and starts shooting at the... Okay, sure. Yeah. Sure, bro.
Well, and they even point that out because they're like... so bullets are flying and Lil Huero just jumps out. Like, that's a little insane. And he's like, no, Lil Huero is insane. Like,
yeah. But they're also like, did any bullets ever hit your car?
And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah. No. He said no.
No, he said, I don't know. he looked at them and he goes, I don't know.
Yeah, but then he said no.
Oh. But
So they were like, yeah, they were that. He was like, it's really hard to believe that they were that close and nothing hit your car.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, okay.
Okay, bro.
So then he's like, okay, what happened next? And he's like, well, when I got up, I saw that there was that other car, and he described the car that Crystal was in. And he said that he saw the front passenger side window was shattered. Mm-hmm. And he said his car was never hit. There was never any evidence that the other Ford Expedition was shooting at anything.
No shell casings that differentiated from the ones that Lil Huero used. There was nothing that indicated that car was shooting at Jokes' expedition.
Right.
Nothing.
So there's no evidence that this is true
An
at
actual
all.
thing.
And so they end up having to let him go.
Yep.
And he makes sure that the police aren't going to tell anybody that he said anything because he's
in this gang.
Yeah, and he's terrified he's going to be killed.
He doesn't want to be labeled a snitch.
And they don't pin it on him. And they don't arrest him because he was being helpful.
Yeah, he was being, and they said that there was no evidence that substantiated anything that he did was wrong.
Right. So then, they're talking about the people who were identified as being in his car. So William Lemus, nicknamed Lil Rascal.
Yep. Yep.
I would have a better nickname than that. What would your gang nickname be?
I'm not even going to go there.
Fair enough. It wouldn't be Lil Rascal, though. I'll tell you that right now.
I am a little rascal, but...
You are a Lil Rascal. But Manuel Tripper Lemus as well. They were brothers. And so William... I think this is when they're talking to William. And he is talking about how the gangs were recruiting children in schools.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't like that.
They didn't talk to William. They talked to Manuel.
Manuel.
Yeah,
Just
William
kidding.
wasn't part of the documentary.
Yes, correct. It was Tripper they were talking to. So he was like, I didn't like that they were recruiting little kids. I thought they should leave them alone. But then he's like, but I said that. And then they were like, how do you think we got you?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, shit.
And they kind of showed video of them. I think it might have been of Manuel. I'm not sure of him getting jumped in.
Yeah, exactly. And so he becomes part of this when he's really young. And he's introduced to Julio. And they're like, oh, that's Lil Huero. He's the one who shoots you.
Yeah, they said the guy on the bike is the one that shoots people.
And it was
Lil
Huero. And he was just explaining that joining this gang, it was a feeling of protection. He isn't going to get anybody to come after him because he's with the ones who go after people. This is
where the life of that, like, of the gang mentality kind of begins.
Exactly. Because you're in this rough area where there is gang activity, and it does cause a lot of people to be like, well, I need this protection.
Yeah.
And they talked to Manuel's mother as well. And she had no idea that this was a thing, I guess.
Yeah, she didn't know it was a gang.
Yeah.
She thought it was just like a whole bunch of his friends.
Right.
And they were all respectful.
Yeah, she loved them.
Yeah, she's like, they never used cuss words around me.
Yeah,
they never, they helped us out. Like, she was like, they never made it seem like they were in a gang.
Yeah. So then we're back to Jamie. And she is really having difficulty.
Yes.
Because she's like, making someone fall in love with someone who's dead is painful.
Yeah.
And
she's 14 at this time.
Yeah.
Like 14, 15 years
Exactly.
old.
She's mourning the death of her cousin that she loved. It's really not that far after this happened.
No,
so
this is like 3 months maybe.
Yeah. So I can't imagine what a tough time she's having to do this.
I feel for her the most in this documentary.
Me too. And so she's really going into how this is how she's keeping Crystal alive to her. Is doing the best she can to impersonate her and be her.
Yep.
Which sucks.
That's
like that,
rough.
I can't imagine.
I cannot imagine doing that.
And I really hope that she got a lot of help.
I hope she got so much therapy.
Yeah, it's horrendous. So she ended up telling Crystal's mom, Belinda, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Which, like, that had to take a lot of strength.
Yeah, like, good on her for knowing.
Yeah. So they also are talking about how Crystal's brothers ended up wanting to handle it themselves. So they didn't think the police were working on it well enough or fast enough. And their mom ended up having to make them promise not to
handle this.
Yeah, like not to do anything violent in Crystal's name.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why they didn't.
Because, like, the detective even had recordings. They're like, listen, if you do this, this just makes this worse.
Exactly.
Your mom's not going to have kids anymore.
Right.
Like, you guys handle this, you're really messing up everything.
Yeah. And, like, I understand both sides.
Yeah, I get
like,
that. I get both sides.
If I was them, I'm sure I would have similar feelings.
Yeah. As someone, both of us, we have siblings. If somebody did this to my sister, I don't think a promise to my mom is stopping me.
Yeah.
I am going full Keanu Reeves, John Wick on a whole gang syndicate. Like,
yeah,
there is nothing stopping me from creating my own arsenal and just destroying everyone's life.
Yeah.
Like,
so Belinda ends up taking over the Angel
accounts.
MySpace page.
Mm-hmm. And this is when shit gets wild.
Yes. So and I understand, she's a grieving mother. I cannot imagine.
No.
I can't imagine. No. And I mean, she's been on drugs.
Yeah.
You know? She's not at this point. She said that the last time she ever used was that night that Crystal died.
Because she was high.
Yeah. So I can't imagine losing my child in this way.
Mm-mm.
But also, girl. So she ends up really doing deep dives and finding out where these people live, if they have kids, all this information, so much information.
She starts driving by, taking pictures of license plates, vehicles, addresses.
Yeah. She is leaving things in people's yards, like black candles, voodoo dolls.
Yeah, because a lot of them practice a religion called Santeria, which is like a voodoo religion that they do down in the Caribbean islands and Mexico and stuff like that.
So she's doing a whole bunch of stuff.
She's being a little psychotic.
She also ended up friending some gang members from a rival gang called Casablanca, and she told them that people in 5150 were talking shit, calling them bitches, saying they were pussies.
As Angel.
Yes.
As her daughter's front account.
Yes.
She's doing this, and she's calling them fucking pussies. You motherfuckers won't do nothing. Like, and then giving them addresses.
Yes.
Of 5150 gang members' houses.
Right.
So she's inciting a gang war.
Yeah. So she also told them that the person who's saying these things has a white Ford Expedition.
Yeah, she's giving them like all of Joke's info.
Yeah. So the detective calls her and he's like, there's a lot of white happening. Ford Expeditions that are getting shot up and burned. Do you know anything about that?
And at that moment.
Yeah. She ended up creating a fake party that was not actually going to happen.
It was on 420 because she saw it for she created it on
420 to sort of plan it out. And she was like, "Oh, I'm going to have an end of the world party at this address on 6/6/2006."
Yeah.
So
it was an end of the world party based on everybody like blowing her up, blowing up her page. Like, oh, we know you're getting high, and saying like as Rebecca, I think.
No, it was as Angel.
Oh, was it as Angel? Okay, but they're
at this point, Rebecca's done. They don't do Rebecca anymore.
But they're like, yeah, like we know that you're blazing it up and stuff like that. So she's
like, oh fuck yeah, like let's go. And she creates this party at this like random desert location. She
Yep.
finds this address that's literally in the middle of the desert.
Far away from cop stations. She's Googling, like, how far can you hear gunshots?
Yes.
Like, she's fully planning on murdering these people.
That's the idea. And she's like, I found somewhere that I could hide where I could see them coming and they couldn't see me. So her whole idea was, I'm going to have this party. They're going to drive to where I am, and then I'm going to kill them. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So even her best friend, Christy, she's like, she started going a little crazy. And I can't say what I would do, but
I would
don't
go
think
insane.
it's that.
Oh, I would not doubt me.
I don't think it's that.
Hurt my family. We'll find out.
Yeah, but then you hurt the rest of your family. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's not
but-
worth it.
Yeah, I understand that thought process.
It's not worth it.
I understand that thought process. I don't know if I'd have that thought process.
Maybe not, but I would.
I would need somebody very strong to talk me down.
Yeah. Well, it ends up happening. So her boys, her sons, her husband end up being like, please don't do this. Like, we do not want to lose you too.
Yeah.
And so they didn't let her go.
Nope.
So that night, actually the day before, she was gonna do it. So it was 6/5/2006, and she was like, okay, I guess I won't fucking kill them, but I'm gonna let this motherfucker know.
Yep.
So she gets onto MySpace, and she is talking to William, and she's like, oh, do you love me? And he's like, oh, of course I love you, because he really is like falling in love with this fake
Yes.
profile. Fucking loser. And then and then she's like, oh, say it. And he's like, I love you. And then she's like, then why did you kill me?
Yeah, which is where the documentary gets its title.
Yes. And she's like, this is Crystal, the girl you murdered.
Yeah, this is Crystal Theobald. I have been using the pictures of the girl you have murdered, and she's like,
No, she didn't even say that. She said the girl you murdered.
Oh, yeah,
like it
yeah,
was
yeah.
her back from the dead. Like,
yeah, and she, Belinda even says, she's like, he didn't even know her face
Yeah.
or her name.
Right, because she wasn't an intended target. She
Yeah.
was collateral at that point. Mm-hmm. And she
Turned it
didn't
over.
hear from him. Like, he didn't respond.
Well, and that night is when she turned all of it over to the detectives agency to keep her in check, is what she says.
And the detective is like, at that point, Jokes dropped off the face of the earth. Like,
Yeah.
he could not find him. Nobody knew where he was.
No
Nobody
one.
had talked to him.
No one knew where he was.
Yeah. So the police are like, we need somebody else who was there, because he was their witness.
Yep,
He's
he was the guy.
one who could have given them all the information they needed.
Yep.
But now he's gone forever.
Yep.
So they end up
This is
picking
when
up.
they talk to the Lemus brothers.
Yes, they end up picking them up because they were identified as being in the car. And they told each of them, like, your brother's telling us everything. Like,
No, they only told that to Manuel because
oh, you're right.
because the other brother was gung-ho. He's like, here's what happened. This
Yeah.
is where we were. This is where Lil Huero was.
Yeah,
This is
and
where
he
Jokes
drew
was.
a diagram.
Drew a diagram.
And
They
all
had
the
the
information.
diagram in the documentary
Yeah,
too.
and all the information,
Matched.
yeah, matched everything that Jokes told them. So then they brought the brothers together,
Because Manuel wasn't talking.
right? And he was like, "What the fuck did you do?" Because he knows how deep this organization runs.
Snitches get stitches.
Worse.
Well, yeah.
They end up in ditches.
Yeah.
So he knows, like, he's like, we can't be here. So his brother,
The two brothers moved to L.A.
after
Oh, right. After
After-
the 5150 meeting.
yes, they had a meeting, and they said to Tripper, like, we know it was your fucking brother. What would you do if we killed him? And he's like, I would do the same thing you would do if I killed your brother. And they ended up moving.
Yep. So that was the night he's like, Tripper said, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
they
So he
moved.
left the gang. They both left the gang. They moved to LA. Tripper told his parents, you need to leave. They didn't. and 5150 ended up burning their house to the ground.
Yeah, but the mom and dad did make it out, though.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, they made it out. I don't know what happened to the dad. They didn't talk about the dad.
Yeah, he wasn't in the documentary.
But
They
the
didn't
mom
really mention
was.
him.
The
Yeah.
mom was.
So at least she made it out. They didn't say that he died or anything
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, no, the gang burned their house to the ground.
Yep.
Because somebody spoke.
Yep.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, so the next thing was that at that point, Manuel was like, okay, fine, you want to attack my mom and dad? I'm shutting you all down.
Exactly.
And then he went to the detective.
Yep. So he told them everything. So he said that a car pulled up to their SUV, the Ford Expedition that they were in.
This is a half hour before the murder.
Yes.
This is like 27 minutes.
17 minutes.
17 minutes, excuse me.
So he said that a car pulled up and somebody in their gang said that someone tried to shoot him with his daughter in the car.
Yeah.
He said, he was like, I don't know, it was like a big truck or an SUV, but he didn't give any other description other than that. He didn't say it was white. He didn't say it was a Ford Expedition.
He just said it was a truck or an SUV.
Yeah, and somebody tried to shoot me. So then that's when they sort of start going patrolling. So this is sort of what Robbie, I think, he described.
This is what happens with Robbie.
Yeah.
That leads to this and
right.
them
And
being
so
chased.
Then they see the white Ford Expedition sort of going back and forth and patrolling the area. So the gang members think that it's a rival gang who is
the MD gang.
Right. And they don't know anything else about the vehicle. Like I said, they don't have any information other than SUV or big truck. So then when this other Ford Expedition starts coming at them, they're like, oh shit, that's them. Mm-hmm. And that's why the chase started.
Yep.
And so then they get to this intersection and they see the two cars, Crystal's car and her mom's car, driving up. And they're like, those are other gang members who are going to, like,
because
ambush us or something.
The whole reason is because they lost Robbie's SUV.
Right.
Robbie lost them, so they flipped around and pulled into that intersection.
Yeah.
When Belinda and the kids behind her pulled up, and they thought it was all rival gang members.
Exactly.
Coming at them.
So that's when Lil Huero got out of the car and shot at the car Crystal was in.
Both cars. Both cars. He shot at the mom's car too.
He missed it. Yeah. So that is what happened.
It was all because they thought they were so paranoid because being in a gang makes you paranoid.
Yeah.
And they thought that it was going to be a thing.
Right.
And it was just people who happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong fucking time.
Yep. So then I think the next day the police did a huge raid in the neighborhood.
It wasn't the next day.
No?
No, they it wasn't the next day. They set it up, but it was a little bit down the road of time. I think it might have been 6 months after.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think it was 6 months after the murder. I think it might have been like a month or two after this all happened. Like all the details.
Well, either way.
They had to coordinate a whole bunch of shit. But
yeah,
it was, 25 to 30 houses that they raided in this city that all had gang affiliation.
Yeah, so they got a bunch of people. And then they find Julio in Mexico.
Yep.
So Lil Huero is hiding out in Mexico.
A day later.
Yes. A day after the raid. So he...
If you hear a snoring dog, it's our Chihuahua. I don't understand how he snores as loud as he does. I apologize. He's out. I can't move my body. God. My leg's asleep. My arm's asleep. It's fun.
But, so he ends up waking up surrounded by police. And they bring him back to California.
Yep, they extradite him.
Yep. And the detective is really like using his family situation against him. He's like, you have a pregnant girlfriend or wife or something like that.
Yeah.
And, she's 4 months pregnant. Like, you want to be a man. You want to be a good example for your kid. You want to do the right thing.
And then the smartest thing anybody ever does.
Ask for a lawyer.
Ask for a fucking lawyer. To anyone out there, if you are interrogated by the cops, innocent or guilty.
Innocent or not. Even if you're innocent, don't talk to the fucking cops.
Don't talk to the cop. Their only goal is to get you to confess. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're guilty or not.
Because they just want their case closed.
Exactly.
Because to them, that's solving the case.
That's
They want
solving
it
the
solved.
case.
But justice, if I don't know that you weren't the person, justice is justice.
The minute a cop comes in and says, we have a couple questions.
Nope. Lawyer.
If you are read your rights, even if you're not read your rights,
Ask for a lawyer.
ask if I'm under arrest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not under arrest, walk out the door.
Don't say shit.
Don't say shit. Walk out the door.
Don't
They
talk to the
cannot.
cops.
They cannot question you anymore. Second thing, if they read you your rights and say you're under arrest,
Lawyer, immediately.
do not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sit there. Do not talk.
Don't say any. Please
Nothing.
don't say anything.
Nothing.
Not
the
one
cops,
thing.
The cops are allowed to do whatever they want to get a confession. They can
Yeah.
say, "Oh, we have your DNA."
They're gonna lie.
They're gonna lie.
to
They
you.
lie to you to get the confession.
Yeah.
Don't say shit.
This has been a PSA from Casually Die Hard. So then they talked to the public defender who defended Lil
Julio.
Guero.
Yep.
His name is Soli Diallo.
I think we were pronouncing that right.
Hopefully. So they're talking to Belinda. She wants the death penalty initially. She's like,
Initially, yes.
I hate this man. I
Yeah.
want him to suffer. And Soli is really talking about the human aspect of defending a criminal.
Yep.
Because this is something that's really difficult for me. I have a lot of empathy, especially for people who are caught in situations that feel like they can't get out of them. Like, obviously, if you're a murderer, you're a murderer. I think it depends on why you're a murderer, personally, for me, whether you can be reformed or not.
The reformed part.
Yeah.
But also
And
in
I
America,
think everybody
in America,
deserves-
we don't do reform.
Right, exactly. But I personally think everybody deserves a chance. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
A chance at reformation.
I personally do not believe in the death penalty because I think that everybody deserves a chance at being reformed. Does that mean that they should get out of jail ever? Absolutely not. I 100% believe in life without parole.
Yeah.
But they can still become a better person in prison.
Yep.
You know, they can be empathetic about what they've done. They can be sympathetic about what they've done. And I
Yeah.
think that people deserve I think people on both sides deserve that. I think it can be really healing for victims' families. And I think that it can be healing just being a person who can be capable of that, you know?
Yeah. No, I have less empathy.
I know.
But I still do.
Yeah.
I still do. I think that there are certain people when it is unequivocally you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a conversation to be had about the death penalty. I'm
Fair.
not saying that I completely agree with it because one mistake is too many mistakes, and
Exactly.
there's been way more than one of falsely convicted people that have had the death penalty.
Absolutely. Yes.
If we can have it down to a science that there are no mistakes, there's a better conversation to be had.
Not for me.
But I think that my foot's just getting blood back to it, and I am trying not to laugh at this serious conversation, but it tickles really bad. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. Go ahead.
All right.
You go. Oh, reform. I think there's a lot more reform that can be done.
Oh my God, yes.
think
Our prison system fucking sucks.
And that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
And stuff
we don't
like
need to
that.
get into it
But
right now, but fuck our prison system.
Our prison system is one of the worst in the world, and of first world nations. Let me
Especially
put it
because
that way.
I think that a lot of crimes are not done because people are fucking evil. I think a lot of crimes are done because people
Necessity.
don't feel like they have any other choice.
Yep.
And I think that once people learn that there is a choice and, oh shit, I was a bad person, they a lot of the time can turn that around.
Yeah.
Again, does that mean that they should ever get out depending on the crime? Absolutely not. But
Yep.
I think that there is a lot to be done. And I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot of potential in a lot of people that we don't give that opportunity to.
I agree with that 100%.
Yes. So, anyway,
Diatribe over.
the attorney is really talking about how when it comes to putting the death penalty on the table, you really need to go over the entire life of a person.
Yeah, 'cause
so they
you're-
did this terrible act, but are they a monster forever?
Yeah, because you're not just killing the part that did this crime. You're killing all
Right.
of them.
And so
And
that
was a really strong way that he phrased that made me kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then they're talking to Julio's sister, Amalia. And she is really going through pictures from their childhood. She's describing how their childhood was really, really tough. Their mom
Yeah.
was on drugs. They were starving. They had no food. They had no furniture. And Julio really had to step up and be a father figure to his siblings. And in that kind of environment, that's hard.
That's a rough
like,
environment.
I had to be a parental figure to my siblings, but not because
Not nearly like that.
not even close. So it's hard. And he ended up joining this gang because he thought it was protection for his family. His cousin ends up being Mario. We find that out.
Yeah, we find out Mario from the beginning is Julio's cousin.
And so he is talking about how all his siblings, his cousins, his family, they wanted to be just like him because he was such a good person in their eyes and he really took care of them. He also talked about him sort of really getting into the gang, and there was one time where somebody stabbed him with a kitchen knife and he
Stabbed Julio.
Yes. Stabbed Julio with a kitchen knife, and he was so skinny it came out his back.
Yep.
And then he was like, that's when I knew he changed and the gang was changing him and he wasn't the same Julio. And then they're kind of talking to Belinda, and she initially really wanted the death penalty. She hated this man. She wanted him to be dead. And then she was talking to her son, Nick, who is, I think, the youngest.
Yeah, he's the youngest.
And he was like, Mom, do you remember when I was 17? Because Lil Huero was 17 when this crime happened. And he's like, I didn't give a fuck. I was in a gang. I started getting involved with the wrong people.
Yeah, he got involved with the MDs who were the rival of 5150.
And he was like, I was a terrible person at that point. Like, I did terrible things. And she was like, she was talking about it and she's like, I was losing him to this gang and I didn't know what to do. And then she asked the state to take the death penalty off the table because she was like, yeah, no, like mistakes can happen. My own son got involved in gangs and it can be so easy.
Yeah, and she said the biggest thing was that she couldn't forgive. She found it harder to forgive herself than to forgive Julio.
Right, because she couldn't get clean during Crystal's life, and that's all Crystal wanted.
Yep.
So she's like, I had to learn to forgive myself, and like she's struggling with that.
Yep.
And then 5 years after Crystal's death, Julio went to trial. Manuel Tripper testified.
Yep. I think his brother did too. I think they both did.
I think maybe.
Yeah, I think it was said that they both testified.
Yeah, but he was really scared because he's like, I know how many people are in this gang and they might hurt me.
Yeah.
It seems like Mario thinks that Manuel is lying.
Yeah. That was crazy to me because everybody else corroborated the story.
Exactly. So he was like, I don't know why you would lie to get out of something you did. So it seems like he thinks that Manuel was involved.
Yeah.
Manuel.
I think it's Manuel.
Manuel. I don't know how to pronounce it in Spanish exactly, but
Yeah, I think it's Manuel.
yes, sorry. But Julio ends up being sentenced to life without parole, but the Lemus brothers are not charged because they cooperated.
They cooperated, and they probably got immunity.
So Manuel is trying to make his family proud of him now. He got out of the gang life. He is talking about how they never found William Sotelo. Belinda is like, it's not over until he's in custody. I know that he was part of it. Like, I will not rest until he's in custody.
This next part is the wildest thing I've ever seen.
What? It's not a twist, but it's a twist.
Yeah.
So she is like pulling oracle cards, pulling tarot cards, and she's going over what she interprets their meaning to be. So she's like, I need to be patient, follow my intuition, and really think before I act. Which maybe she should have started pulling these beforehand because she almost committed fucking murder. Belinda.
Not only that, like spree murder.
Belinda.
She was
Think before you act, Belinda. And then she pulls one. She's like, this says that, like, be patient and he will be caught.
It was the High Priestess card.
2 weeks later.
And she pulled the High Priestess and Justice card. 2
weeks later.
After that interview.
He's found.
In Mexico.
He's caught.
In Mexico. 2 weeks immediately after that interview.
2 weeks. It's crazy. 2 weeks after she's like pulling these cards. There he is. He's found in Mexico. And you want to know how he's found? She received a tip on Facebook that led to his arrest.
Yep.
Belinda received a tip on Facebook that helped find him.
Yep.
He was working as a chili farmer in Mexico. He had 4 kids and a wife.
Yep.
So 14 years after the murder of Crystal, he received 22 years for voluntary manslaughter because he was the getaway driver.
Yep.
Wild.
That's how it ended.
Fucking wild.
This was a crazy documentary.
I'm so glad that there was justice.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that there's not. And it's really hard sometimes to like watch these documentaries and it's like, oh, this person's still at large.
Yeah. Which I thought that's what was going to happen
because they said William Sotelo is still remains at large. And then they
showed the clip of Belinda with her oracle cards.
Yes.
And then they were like, 2 weeks later, there he is.
It's like, gotcha, bitch.
What the fuck? That was crazy.
Like, it is crazy. And like the whole thing about this is like, this is what happens when good police work is done.
Yes.
Like the whole thing is like, and I'm not going to get political about this, but like the whole thing with like when police work is done right.
Yes.
It creates
when they do their fucking jobs and they care about who is apprehended and not that there is and not that there is an apprehension, but when it's like when it's the correct who and they care about being the correct who. Right.
This is when things get done properly.
Exactly.
And this is where kudos to Detective fucking Wheeler, man.
Oh my God, what a good job. What a good job.
There's not a lot that we agree with when it comes down to a lot of the police system and stuff like that because there's still a lot of corruption and but there is good. And like these are moments of good and it's like this is what you want to hang on. Yeah. These are the moments you want to hang on. You don't want to hang on when, they fucked up this investigation. This guy went away for 30 years, like Adnan Syed.
Oh my God. I know.
Anyways.
And that's a case of I want somebody to be arrested, not I want the right person to face justice.
Yeah.
Because that's not justice.
That's not justice.
That's just taking another person and creating the need for more justice.
Right. Yeah. So like this is one of those moments where it's like they finally got it fucking right. Yes. Like they got it right.
Oh
good
my God.
for them. Like let's go.
Yes. I'm glad that there was a good ending. Yeah. A positive.
I mean, thoughts.
Obviously, it's terrible.
Thoughts and positive vibes to her family and
but also to their families,
to everyone's family.
To many people, like whether they did a bad thing or not, a lot of people lost people that they loved.
Lost daughters, lost brothers, lost sisters. There's a lot of people that lost somebody that day, and like you lost a part of your life that day, and it's like all of my positive vibes I can give can go out to you.
Absolutely.
I know it doesn't make a difference, but like everybody has some way of being sympathetic in this, and like the sister didn't deserve to lose her brother. Right. What is her name?
Amalia. I think.
She didn't deserve to lose her brother.
Right.
That wasn't her choice. Her choice didn't make that happen.
And the fact that her brother was even involved in all of this didn't even necessarily start as his choice. No. It started as something that felt like a necessity.
Yep.
And then you can't get out, and it's this terrible cycle.
Yep. And that's where the cycles continue. But we have opinions on that. A lot of people have opinions on that.
Yes.
That is how that is. But it was an incredible documentary.
It was really well done.
It was really well done. Go and check it out. I know we spoiled it, but go check it out. Watch it for yourself. Come up with your own opinions, your own thoughts.
And let us know. Let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Comment down below if you liked this. Comment down below if you want us to do more of this. We're here to kind of like appease you guys.
And I
fans.
love true crime.
Yeah, and we love true crime. Like, we listen to true crime podcasts every week. We watch documentaries a lot. We will be coming out. I will say this: we will in the next month be coming out with a review of this season of Love Is Blind.
Yes.
That might be a longer episode.
Oh my god, it's gonna have to be because
it's gonna have to
it's
be.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah,
this season is crazy, and let me tell you, that bitch does kind of look like Megan Fox.
Until you get to her chin. Till you get to her chin.
And this part is Megan Fox.
No, it's the mouth too.
No, I think
it's
the mouth.
Creases of the cheeks.
I don't know.
Because like from here up, I was like, "That's Megan Fox," and then we got to here, and I saw her cheek creases, and I'm like, "That's not Megan Fox."
I don't know. She kind of looks like Megan Fox, and I'm tired of people clowning her and saying she doesn't look like Megan Fox, and she looks like fucking Natalie Nunn. She a little bit. Her chin does. I'll show you.
Okay,
after.
yeah, we'll do that after.
She looks like Megan Fox. Just stop playing with me.
Save it for the Love Is Blind.
Stop playing with me.
So with that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know. Give us an idea of what you guys want to hear.
Yeah.
Do you want more interviews? Do you want more solo episodes? What are your guys' thoughts? Do you know anybody that wants to be interviewed? I know we have.
Do you want to be interviewed?
Do you want to be interviewed? Do you have a social media presence? Are you more popular than us? We'll interview you.
But even if you're not.
Even if you're not, we'll interview you. But yeah, so let us know. Let us know if you want more of these true crime reviews. If you want more of the jokey Reddit lists. If you want more of the product reviews, place reviews, stuff like that, let us know down below what you guys like as you've made it an hour and so into this video. My time code's being blocked by the ring light.
It's 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 11 seconds.
Okay. So if you made it this far, we know that you're actually listening. So comment down below what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Interact with our socials. Buy our shirts.
Yes.
We have designs up. Follow us for more Casually Die Hard games. We are recording that after this episode.
So excited.
We're starting the TEW save. We're starting that today.
Yes.
So we're doing that right after this episode in between household chores.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in the Casually Die Hard universe. Follow Culinarily Die Hard on TikTok. We did a couple recipes. We did a couple hidden gems up here in Connecticut too. So we're kind of doing a lot of content creation.
Yeah.
So give us a follow, give us a subscribe, rate us 5 stars, share it with your friends, review us on Facebook, all that kind of shit. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'm Damien.
And I'm Ashley.
This has been Casually Die Hard.
Bye.
Bye.